They don't tell you when you're young that most of life will feel like running on a treadmill, exhausting, repetitive, and strangely empty. You wake up every day, wear a name, carry responsibilities, play your part. You hustle, you dream, you love people who sometimes forget how to love you back. You gather things you can't take with you. You grow older, you get tired, and one day, it all stops. You die, and the world keeps spinning without you. So, you ask yourself, what was it all for? All the pain, all the trying, all the heartbreak, the healing, the fear, the faith? Was it just a performance? Was it just noise fading into silence? Because if death is the destination, why take the road at all? This is not just a video. This is a mirror held up to the part of you that's been screaming in silence. The part that pretends to be okay in a world obsessed with pretending. And maybe, by the end of this journey, we'll discover something most people never do. That the answer isn't in escaping death. It's in understanding why we lived at all. You didn't ask to be here. None of us did. You were thrown into this world a naked, crying soul, delivered into systems you never agreed to. A name was given to you before you could even speak. A faith was assigned, a nationality, a set of rules, a path you were told to walk. And so, like everyone else, you began the march. You went to school to be measured. You learned to raise your hand to be heard. You were taught who to be long before you ever had the chance to ask, who am I really? But somewhere deep inside, beneath the noise, beneath the labels, was a quiet knowing, a strange aching awareness that whispered, this can't be all there is. You felt it in those silent nights staring at the ceiling. You felt it after a breakup, when love didn't feel like the movies. You felt it at your job, doing tasks that fed your wallet but starved your soul. The question began to grow, like a vine inside your chest. Why am I doing all this if death waits for me in the end? No teacher prepared you for that question. No textbook had an answer. So most people bury it. But you didn't. You're still here, still haunted, still seeking. And maybe, just maybe, that's where the real life begins. Death is a shadow that walks beside us from the moment we are born. We don't see it, but we know it's there. It shapes how we love. It shapes how we fear. It shapes what we chase and what we avoid. We fear irrelevance. We fear being forgotten. We fear the silence that comes after the last heartbeat. But rather than face it, we hide, we build, we grind, we collect. We pretend permanence in a world made of dust. We decorate our cages and call them homes. We entertain ourselves to death, so we never have to sit in the stillness long enough to ask the real questions. But here's the truth we run from. Everything we love will disappear. Our youth, our beauty, our parents, our lovers, our name, our breath. And that should terrify us. But strangely, it can also awaken us. Because in that awareness is a fire, a clarity, a permission to stop pretending, to stop waiting, to stop living like we have forever. What if death isn't the end, but a mirror, one that asks, if your time is limited, how will you live now? If everything is temporary, what becomes sacred? And if you're doing all this just to die, then what would make it worth it? We're told from childhood that happiness lives somewhere in the future, that it's a place we'll reach after the degree, after the promotion, after the wedding, after the house, after we finally become someone. And so we run. We chase success like it's salvation. We compare our timelines with others like life is a scoreboard. But here's the quiet truth that breaks us when no one is watching. There is no final arrival. The job doesn't silence the anxiety. The relationship doesn't erase the emptiness. The wealth doesn't quiet the fear of dying alone. Because no matter how far you go, no matter how much you gain, you're still the same soul, carrying the same unanswered question. What is the point of all this if I still die in the end? It's not that our dreams are wrong, it's that we've made gods out of them. We believed they would save us. We believed they would finally make us feel permanent in a temporary world. But maybe the purpose of life was never in arriving. Maybe it was always in witnessing, in feeling, in being here, even if just for a fleeting breath. Maybe it's not about what we build, but about how deeply we love while building it. Everything you hold today is already slipping through your fingers. Every heartbeat, every face, every word you speak. It's all on loan. You do not own your time. You do not own the people you love. You do not own tomorrow. And instead of grieving this truth, what if you revered it? What if the fragility of life isn't a curse but a blessing in disguise? Because would you take love for granted if you knew it would end? Would you scroll past your child's laugh? Would you ignore the sunset just because you've seen 1,000 before? When you understand that all things end, you start to see the divine in everything. The morning coffee becomes a ritual. The hug becomes a prayer. The ordinary becomes holy. We only begin to live fully when we accept that none of it will last. So yes, you will die, and so will I. But maybe, just maybe, that is why this moment matters more than anything else. Because this breath is real. This silence is sacred. And even if we're all doing this just to die in the end, maybe dying with our hearts wide open is the most beautiful thing we can do. I remember the night my friend Daniel died. He was only 28. No warnings, no hospital beds, just a phone call and silence. It didn't feel real. I kept checking my phone like somehow he'd text me and say, "I'm still here, bro." Just kidding. But the world didn't pause. People still rushed to work the next day. The sky didn't dim. No great voice thundered from above to explain why a good man disappears while the wicked keep breathing. I went to his apartment a few days later. His toothbrush was still on the sink, his shoes by the door. His favorite book was still open to the page he never got to finish. And that's when it hit me, not in a poetic, graceful way, but like a brutal punch to the chest. One day, that will be me. One day my toothbrush will be left behind. My words, my laughter, my dreams, all of it gone. Not because I didn't live well, but because that's what happens. We all vanish, and the world keeps spinning. It haunted me, but it also woke something up. Because in that moment, I realized I don't want to be remembered for the things I owned. I want to be remembered for the light I carried, for the way I made people feel, for the love I gave when it was hard, for the truth I dared to speak, even when my voice shook. Daniel didn't get a long life, but he lived one that mattered. And maybe that's the point. Maybe it's not about how long we live, but how alive we are while we're still here. What if there is no grand answer, no neat explanation, no divine scoreboard that tells you what mattered and what didn't? What if life is just this chaotic, beautiful, terrifying, and breathtakingly brief? Would you still keep waiting for permission to live? Or would you finally dare to carve meaning into the void? Because maybe meaning isn't found. Maybe it's created. Every time you show up when it's easier to hide. Every time you forgive without needing revenge. Every time you cry openly, laugh freely, speak honestly, love relentlessly. Maybe this is the rebellion. To live with an open heart in a world that numbs itself. To look death in the face and say, "Yes, I see you, but I'm still going to dance anyway." You were never promised forever, but you were given now. And now is enough, if you make it sacred. So yes, we're all doing this just to die in the end, but that doesn't make life meaningless. It makes it urgent. It makes it holy, because maybe the miracle was never escaping death, but becoming fully alive before it comes. There is a rebellion that no one talks about. It doesn't involve noise. It doesn't scream. It doesn't wear armor or wave flags. It happens in the stillness, in the choice to stay soft in a world that hardens you, in the decision to open your heart, knowing it will be broken, to keep creating beauty even when no one claps. That's the real defiance. To choose tenderness over numbness, to stay awake even when sleepwalking is easier, to keep saying "I love you," even when loss lives right around the corner. You will lose people. You will lose pieces of yourself. You will age. You will ache. But you are not here to be untouched. You are here to be transformed. So let the world shake you. but do not let it erase you. Let it break you, but do not let it make you bitter, because every scar is a poem, every heartbreak, a line of truth, and every tear is just the soul trying to remember its way back to the divine. Before the noise, before the clocks and jobs and debts and deadlines, there was silence, and in that silence, you were still whole. You came from stars. You were not born empty. You are not here by accident. Somewhere deep inside you, beneath the anxiety, beneath the roles and expectations, is the memory of something sacred. And knowing, you remember it in fragments, in the way your chest swells when you watch the sun rise, in the goosebumps when music hits a certain note, in the way someone's eyes remind you of a home you've never seen. The soul remembers, even if the mind forgets. And maybe that's what life really is. Not a race, not a ladder, but a remembering, a slow, aching, beautiful return to the truth that's always been waiting beneath the fear, that you are love, that you are light, that you are here, not just to die, but to become fully awake, to become fully human, to become fully you. And when death finally arrives, it won't be an ending, but a return, back to the silence, back to the stars, back to the place you never truly left. When you think of your life, what do you imagine? Not the career achievements, the houses built, or the accolades you collect. No, what do you imagine when you strip it all away? It's the moments that remain, isn't it? The way your grandmother's voice sounded as she whispered, "I'm proud of you." The way you laughed with a stranger who became a friend, for no reason, but that you both needed to be seen. The look in someone's eyes when they finally understood that they are enough. These are the things that carry weight. These are the moments that carve meaning into the fleeting world. And when the world forgets your name, when your face fades from the memories of the living, it is these moments that will remain. Because legacy isn't about what you leave behind. It's about what you give. It's about who you are in the world while you're here. The love you pour out, the kindness you offer without expectation, the truth you live. You won't be remembered for how hard you worked, but for how deeply you loved. So, how will you spend your moments now? Will you squander them, chasing things that never mattered? Or will you fill them with a love that cannot be erased by time? There is a moment in every life when you realize that control is an illusion. The harder you grip, the more you suffocate. It's the feeling of fighting against the current, only to realize the river is stronger than your resistance. It's the sensation of holding on to a person, a dream, a life, only to watch it slip through your fingers no matter how hard you try. And so you surrender, not because you want to, but because the choice is made for you. You let go of the need for answers. You stop trying to control the timing of your life. You stop trying to force moments to happen, to bend the universe to your will. You begin to trust. Trust that everything, even the suffering, is leading you somewhere. Somewhere beyond what you can see, beyond what you can understand. The art of surrender is not weakness. It is strength. It is the strength to stand in the unknown without fear. It is the strength to trust that the universe will meet you where you are and help you become who you are meant to be. You are not meant to have all the answers. You are meant to live fully, despite the questions. You are meant to embrace your impermanence, and with that acceptance, find freedom. The truth is, you don't have to have it all figured out. You don't have to control your life, because life itself will guide you if you allow it. There's a space we rarely acknowledge, a space between the first breath and the last. It is not the beginning we remember, and it is not the end that haunts us most. It is the space in between, the moments that were never promised, the second glances, the unspoken words, the moments where time seemed to pause, if only for an instant. That space is life, not the milestones, not the destinations, but everything that happens when we're not trying to go somewhere, when you are simply being, without the pressure to become, when you're simply present, without measuring the seconds. That is where life breathes. That is where meaning seeps into the cracks of time. Because it is not the arrival that defines us. It's the journey that we choose to make sacred. the walk from sunrise to sunset without expecting tomorrow. And if you can learn to love that space, to surrender to its fleeting nature, then you will have learned to live. Maybe the only thing we can truly control is how deeply we are willing to live. So many of us wait. We wait for the right time, for the perfect moment, for the stars to align before we finally start living. But life doesn't wait. It is happening now. The truth is simple. You do not need to wait until you have it all figured out. You do not need to wait for validation. You do not need to wait for permission from the world or from yourself. The only thing you need is the courage to show up for love, even when it feels like it will break you, to show up for life, even when it's not easy, to show up for your truth, even when it's uncomfortable, to show up for your humanity, even when it feels fragile. Because, in the end, it is not about avoiding death. It's about living in such a way that death cannot take away the essence of who you are. It's about leaving your mark, not in what you accomplish, but in how deeply you allowed yourself to live, how fully you felt each moment. So, live before you die. Live fully, live authentically, live with love. And in that living, you will find the grace of impermanence. You will find that, in the end, it was never about the destination. It was always about the journey and the heart you poured into it. As we come to the end of this reflection, let me offer you some words to carry with you. There is a book that changed my perspective on life, The Art of Living by Epictetus, a Stoic philosopher. In it, Epictetus writes, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. This is the key. How you respond to the inevitable impermanence of life. We cannot control the timing of our death, nor can we prevent the loss of people we love, or the moments that slip through our fingers, but we can choose how to live in between. We can choose to embrace each moment, to live intentionally, and to find peace in the present, even in the face of life's fleeting nature." Another powerful book is Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. Frankl, a Holocaust survivor, writes about how those who found meaning in suffering were the ones who survived the horrors of the concentration camps. He writes, "Everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of the human freedoms to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way. You have the freedom to choose your attitude. Even in the face of suffering or death, you can choose to see the beauty in the temporary. You can choose to live with love, even when it feels like the world is unraveling around you. And that, my friend, is the essence of living a life that truly matters." Finally, in The Untethered Soul by Michael A. Singer, we are reminded, the truth is that you can't escape the truth. It will continue to follow you. It will remain present until you surrender to it. When we surrender to the truth of impermanence, when we let go of our attachment to permanence, we free ourselves. We give ourselves permission to live fully, without fear of loss. We embrace the unknown with an open heart, ready to love, learn, and grow in every fleeting moment. If you found value in these reflections, I encourage you to take a moment right now to reflect on your own life. What are the things you're holding onto so tightly? What parts of yourself or your life have you been avoiding because you fear their impermanence? Remember, you don't need to wait for life to be perfect to start living. You don't need to wait for all the stars to align. The moment is now. The time to live fully and authentically is always now. If you found this video meaningful, don't forget to subscribe and join this journey of self-discovery, growth, and reflection. Like this video if it resonated with you, and share it with someone who needs to hear this message. Comment below with your thoughts. What part of life are you choosing to live more fully today? Thank you for watching, and until next time, live fully, love deeply, and surrender to the beauty of every moment.